welcome back to my channel. Today's video we're going to be doing a really fun VR. So this VR is from Martyn's Musings, and I will list his video down below. But this hashtag is called hashtag Desert Island Decks, and I thought this was really fun. So the premise of this tag is decks you would take with you if you were kind of stranded on a desert island. And you would be there for 365 days. So you're there for a whole year. He said you have like your basic amenities that you need, you know, food and things like that. But you're only able to bring one book, one oracle, and 2 tarot decks. So this is just showing what you would take with you. It can be any kind of tarot or oracle decks, and the book can be any kind of book. It doesn't have to be a tarot book. It can be a fiction book. He said it could be the Bible, anything. So yeah, so that I'm going to show you guys my picks. I'm sure most of these won't be any kind of a surprise, but I thought the book was really interesting. So I knew if I brought a fiction book that I would get through it in a week. It would be very hard for me to read a fiction book and have it last me a year. Even if I brought a story that I really love, I don't think I could just reread it over and over and over and over. I like variety, I like different things. So I knew it would have to be like a nonfiction book or some kind of a learning book for me to be able to have it really keep giving after, you know, such a long period of time. So the book that I would bring is the Druidcraft Tarot Guidebook. So this is from the big box set where you get this big chunky book. So I think it would be important for me to bring a spiritual book that helps me connect to my spirituality and connect to things that I really love and connect to this druid energy, but also has like stories within it that, you know, I can really dive into. I did not choose the Druidcraft Tarot as one of the decks I would take because I think this deck is just so insightful. There's so much to go off of. It's just a really delicious book, and I think it would work really well with the decks that I've picked, and it using the kind of teachings in here for the other kind of decks that I've chosen. So it's really cool. It has a lot to do with, I mean, we have just like general stuff in here. I've not read this whole book, but it's one that I really, really, really want to. So it just has like about tarot, the court cards, like it just has a little bit of everything, and then it goes through everything as in order. Like it goes to the courts, and then it goes through the aces, the 2s, the 3s, the 4s. So it has a lot of like numerology in here. And it has lots of spreads here in the back, which would definitely keep me entertained on a desert island, right? And yeah, it's a really good book. I think having this energy without having the actual deck is kind of like having a third tarot deck without actually having it, because we have the, you know, artwork here that we can dig into. So that would be the book that I would bring with me, the Druidcraft Tarot Guidebook, and it's a big book. So this is by Philip and Stephanie Cargom, and the actual cards are illustrated by Will Worthington. Okay, so the Oracle deck. If you guys have been on my channel for any amount of time, you'll know exactly what Oracle deck I would take with me. And that is the Seasons of the Witch Samhain Oracle. These are the backs. Again, this deck connects me to my spirituality. It connects me to that witchiness, that darkness, but also the light. I talked about this being my light work deck in the Tarot to the Extreme tag. So I just couldn't go anywhere without this deck. And the guidebook is so beautifully written. And I think it would work really well with both of the decks that I picked, just because, it just works so well. And this would just connect me deeply to my spiritual practice. I couldn't go to a desert island and not bring this with me. It's funny because recently my husband and I got into the show Alone, and it is basically these contestants go out and they're left alone and they have to kind of survive on their own. And I was thinking while I was watching that, okay, well, what tarot deck would I bring, or what oracle deck would I bring? Because that's kind of all I would need, because you're allowed to bring certain items. I haven't been able to find if you're able to bring like an oracle or tarot deck on that show. So if you guys know, that would be really cool if you could let me know, because I feel like if I was able to bring this oracle or, you know, one of my tarot decks, I'd be able to entertain myself pretty easily. But while I was watching that show, this is one that definitely crossed my mind as a deck that I would take with me on that show if I ever went. But the artwork is beautiful. And I feel like especially if I was on an island, like a tropical island, I would need this earthy kind of deck that's more of like the forest or my home, because, you know, I'm not super connected to like the beach and tropical climates. So definitely would be the oracle I would bring. So that's Seasons of the Witch Samhain oracle. All right, so let's talk about the 2 tarot decks. The first one's going to be pretty basic. This is my Rider-Waite deck. This is the Centennial Borderless Edition. This is my tarot deck, and I couldn't go anywhere without it. Even though I know this imagery so well, I guess I haven't learned all the symbolism in the deck. And so I feel like if I was on a desert island, I would kind of like make things up for myself, or really tap into that intuition to really assign meanings to all the symbolism, and that might mess me up whenever, you know, I eventually got home. But there's just so much to dive into with this deck. It's like a natural storytelling deck for me. With the imagery, I feel like I can tell myself stories. You know, obviously I can read tarot with it, but I feel like it would be entertaining in that way. I could make up stories, or I could play a game. So, I mean, I just couldn't go anywhere without this deck, because it's the original for me. It's the artwork I'm most familiar with. It speaks to me in a way that my other decks don't, and I just couldn't go anywhere without this deck. I feel like it would be also just really comforting as well, you know, to remind me of my home and, you know, the tarot reader that I am and all my decks. It would just, I'd have to bring this. I have to bring this, as boring as it is for some people. And I think it would be really fun to work with this deck along with the Druidcraft book to add like that extra element to it. I think that would be really, really cool to have these associations and these meanings linked with this deck, which is might be something I do anyway. But yeah, love this deck. Could not be without it on a desert island. So that is the first tarot I would bring, as boring and basic as it is. And the second tarot deck that I would bring is pretty obvious again. This is my Greenwich Tarot, of course. Again, I feel like this would connect me to my home, that witchiness, that forest energy that I love so much. And this has a whole different feel to it than my RWS deck. My RWS deck is very like traditional. I have set meanings for it. This deck, you can really like play around with the meanings, and it has a little bit of a less harsh kind of a feel. It's very like, it looks at the positive side of things usually, but it's not really Rider-Waite. It's not a Rider-Waite clone in any way. So I like that it has like that witchy energy, but it has something different to the imagery, while still being easy to read and, you know, one of my most used decks. But it just has a whole different energy to it. And I feel like I could pair, again, my oracle with both of these decks, and they would just give completely different readings with the oracle. So, I mean, I would just have to bring this because I would need to be reminded again of that witchiness of where I feel comfortable. And this deck is also beautiful for path working. So I could definitely jump into these cards when I want to kind of escape that mundaneness and I want to go somewhere else. So just gorgeous. I had to pick this one. I would bring it in this bag too that I have it in, because then it would double as like a little reading cloth so my cards don't get messed up. So yeah, that would be my little desert island decks. So I hope you guys enjoyed this tag. Please let me know if you're going to do it down below, or if you don't have a channel, just comment what you would take with you. Thank you so much to Martyn for making this tag. It was really fun. I love looking at my collection and what I would take with me if, you know, I didn't have a choice and I could only take a certain amount or a certain number of decks, kind of what's important to me. And it really puts things in perspective. I like doing exercises like this because it shows me what decks I have a deep spiritual connection to and what I don't, and you know, what I might need to declutter. I've been kind of in this decluttering little phase. I'm not doing anything crazy, but I just want to make my collection more meaningful to me and not have decks that sit around and don't get used. I would love to see like different versions of this, or different kind of decks, different tags like this, where we kind of have to look at our collection and only take certain things. I think it's really fun. So yeah, I hope you guys are having a magical week. If you want a personal reading from me, I do offer them in my description box in my Etsy shop. And I love you guys so much, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.